to you?
Yeah, I mean, it fills into a couple different options here because when I see Xayah Rakan plus Gragas, I'm thinking this is going to be a bot side focused game from Xerxe. So we probably see the old style of Alphari where he's more left to his own devices trying to play weak side. So that sort of removes some options, and now I don't think there's a lot of good stuff he can go on to.
I think it's also interesting here how Origen are respecting the flex of Diana. They're leaving the last pick for mid lane. Ooh,
We've got a
okay.
Qiyana jungle.
Qiyana jungle, maybe?
There we go. Most likely, no, it's actually really going to be a Qiyana jungle. I'm just leaving the door open, you know? You never know what's going to happen. Always the hover from Draven and Oriana for Hylissang. And looking, what do you want to see here for last pick in the top lane for Fnatic?
Well, it's confusing because the question is still where's Diana going?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think it could do potentially fine into Gangplank because you have the all-in potential, but this is for sure Swain top.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's the Bwipo classic.
Yeah,
even when he was swapping down to the bottom lane back in 2018, he still loved that Swain right there too. So now this sort of diversifies the Fnatic damage profile because you have double AP solo laners for Fnatic.
Give me LeBlanc.
Who have a lot of these AoE combos within team fights. I think that their engage is very committal, right? You have to have Diana or Qiyana throwing yourself
Give me the LeBlanc Destiny. Lock in the LeBlanc.
Why do you want to see the LeBlanc for Nukeduck?
Oh,
Or they can pick nothing.
they can pick nothing. We're just.
All right,
oh, it is LeBlanc. It is LeBlanc.
It is LeBlanc?
Yeah.
Okay,
There must have been a bug. There we go.
Okay, it's not Gangplank.
No, it's
Nukeduck
not. No double Gangplank.
has a mean Gangplank, I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest. But the reason I like LeBlanc is very mobile. It can kind of move around the Braum and maybe harass their Aphelios. And also not get caught by the Qiyana, but we saw Fabiven getting caught over and over. So
Yes, we did. We see
misinformation.
Sum up these drafts for me. Who gets the upper hand after draft, Yamato?
I like the Origen draft. I think there's a clear path here. Focus on bottom. LeBlanc will have not that much 2v2 pressure with Gragas, but I think that the 3v3 on bottom will be deadly and will go hard onto Aphelios and Braum.
Yeah, and once she gets a couple of items as well, Braum can't do anything to sort of peel his AD carry away from that LeBlanc, so LeBlanc should have freer reign once the game extends and we get into these later situations around objectives. I agree, I think Origen's comp is much easier to execute, and barring Fnatic really popping off with some of these solo-style players like the Qiyana or the Diana, they're not going to have too much room to get back in the game.
Fantastically interesting drafts. A hug from the side of Mitty and Guiotto. They know each other very well, but they want to kill each other right now on the Rift. This is such an important first game for the side of Origen and the side of Fnatic, who have their eyes set on the top of the table. The teams are ready for our match of the week. Let's go.
Welcome back to the cast of this as Fnatic are taking on Origen in the LEC match of the week. Diana mid lane complemented with Aphelios being played by Rekkles, going up against Origen in the Xayah Rakan bottom lane. Fruscurin, where do we need to put our attention when we look at these team comps, and what are you expecting?
I do want to kind of go back to what the analyst desk was talking about and really agree that I think the ease of execution is on the side of Origen, and I love that word that they were talking about early on, which is dive potential. The fact that you have a LeBlanc, Yamato just talked about her maneuverability, especially around fights, to get around this Braum, that you have a Rakan, that you then have also the reach of the Gragas cask as well as the Gangplank ultimate. It feels like this is going to be a very difficult game for Rekkles to play out on this Aphelios because there are so many tools to make his life a living hell back there as an ADC. Now that said, we've seen this combo a couple of times, and I think diving on to Braum and Aphelios is actually quite difficult to execute on. Now, Origen have so many tools to do so maybe you just throw everything at the kitchen sink and you just try to smash him. But when Aphelios, especially if he has Crescent, I like to play colors with the guns, the white gun and the red gun, and has his onslaught with the Braum passive, like you dive back to him and his ability to get health back to auto attack you super fast, to proc the Braum Winter's Bite passive and just kind of stop someone in their tracks. It's actually a really cool combination. So can Rekkles and Hilly defend against the dive that Origen have all of the tools to do so? We're going to have to keep our eyes on that. But that's kind of the first area that I look when I see these comps.
Okay, I'm very excited to then track how it plays out, and it's actually really easy to understand the theory, and then we need to look at the nuances of how it plays out, obviously, during the course of the game. So Some early trading here in this bottom lane. Up in the top, Alphari pushing early into Bwipo.
And I'm going to steal Vedius's point here because he was the one who taught me this with kind of like the Simon Says colors with Aphelios. It's green for range, red for lifesteal, white for kind of dueling potential. You then have blue for AoE and then purple for CC. I kind of wish that it was a bit more clear, like Aphelios would kind of completely change color, because I think the burden of knowledge on understanding how Aphelios works for not only who's playing him, but also the enemy team, there's almost so much like hidden damage in his kit because you can't really see what's happening until you like 2 shots and you're like, what the hell just happened? Where did this turret come from?
Especially because of the additional power, the flexibility, and having that secondary weapon sitting on his back and having the ability to tap into it. Now, we'll get back to Aphelios in a little bit. Selfmade, debut game under the Fnatic banner, stepping forward to play alongside Nemesis. Remember, these two former teammates. That's a flash forward. Nukeduck has got the flash available. We'll get his passive proc, but Selfmade trading his flash for Nukeduck's flash is absolutely worth.
I don't know if I fully agree with it. I understand what you're saying, because you're like, Diana could have kill pressure in this lane right now, but because it is a LeBlanc and she has access to kind of bouncing back and forth, she has decent wave play, like it's still a relatively safe lane for her to be, even though she doesn't have flash. Now, they could make me eat my words, and Nemesis could now try to go for the 1v1 kill on the flashless LeBlanc, but we'll see if that pays off.
They're not going to pay off just yet. Bwipo throws out that Sith Lightning, tagging up Alphari in the top lane, and Selfmade still roaming around. The one thing I did like, very early on, 3 minutes, gank in the mid lane, Selfmade was the man, the face of SK, and he's already showing a little bit of synergy here with Nemesis, and that's very exciting if you're a Fnatic fan.
Yeah, and reminder, your Spark notes for what happened in the ERLs of like the history of Selfmade Nemesis is that they used to play together. So this makes a lot of sense if you're a Fnatic fan, why he would be picked up when you're trying to fill the shoes of Broxa. Now, what's cool and kind of the next page of this is, can Fnatic actually become a mid-jungle team? Because they really have never been so. It was about Hilly and Broxa kind of unlocking Nemesis, and then Nemesis going to a side lane. That was kind of like Fnatic's system or formula. Whereas they could just become a strong duo 2v2 mid-jungle.
Oh, Alphari, his flash is forced away. Bwipo will not be able to pull Alphari back. But look at the gigantic minion wave that Alphari is currently being denied. The experience and the gold. Nemesis has also left that mid lane, and he was even threatening additional pressure. So Alphari with a TP should be able to pick up a few of these when he returns, but this is a great start for Selfmade.
But he has to be careful. So he is making the call that I've seen them walk away. I've got enough vision underneath me that I don't think I'm going to get dove again. But Alphari had to very quickly make the call. If I TP back to this, am I actually just going to get dove again? But realizes that there's not a big enough wave, that he is able to get back there safely. Like you're saying, does get a TP discrepancy as we now see Bwipo walking back to the lane, which can be a big deal, especially as these champions kick over to level 6, and maybe Bwipo can follow up on the GP ultimate. That's surely going to go down bottom if he has his TP, but that was really the outcome there.
Yeah, really nicely done here. Some heavy pressure being applied by Selfmade. In the previous game, Frosco, and you talked a little bit about the 2020 season and the changes to the jungle, and how you were anticipating the difference between good and great junglers. It's come from some decisive plays, from understanding how and where to go places. What do you make so far of, you know, Selfmade's debut on a Fnatic jersey? He's cleared out that control ward, and the ganks he's already applied.
So I actually want to talk specifically about that control ward. The shortcut to how teams figured out to slow down Selfmade, because he was so explosive when he came into 2019, and then he kind of teetered out, and part of that was to SK, is that people just started hard warding his Krug camp, because he was really good at recognizing certain pathways through the jungle and how important Krug camp was. And it was kind of Xerxe who first started doing this. Hilariously, he's now against Xerxe. Spice used to do this every time. Get a deep ward into Selfmade's jungle, because he's fairly formulated in his pathing, and you can very quickly read what he's going to do.
Keep our eyes on that one, Frosco. Just found out Nemesis on this Diana. It's the first one that we've seen since 2015. And let's talk about that in a moment. Is now Xerxe with body slam over the wall, spots out Selfmade, and then use the blast cone to safety. Bwipo does manage to get some damage down onto Alphari, but he's the one losing out. Pale Cascade will block some damage, but not more from that Mimic Burst from Nukeduck.
And so far in kind of the first 6 to 7 minutes of this game, a lot of what Origen have been doing is neutralizing. I'll hold it though, Destiny.
Oh,
I think he's just playing.
Very nicely done. Doesn't get a lot of damage, but it looked good.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about looking good. Origen have really just kind of neutralized. Yeah, Selfmade got off a successful gank in both lanes, forcing out early flashes, but it hasn't translated to a kill. Oh no.
Not just yet. There goes the powder keg. Bwipo has thrown down the ultimate, continues to chase, getting a lot of healing back. Selfmade is waiting in the wings. He's done a little bit of CS, level 5, matching that of Xerxe, and nothing further comes of it.
Now, you can't make like a really definitive statement and be like, X team needs to, I'm done.
Yeah, not going to get the chance to talk just yet, Frosco. Destiny is really fishing for pressure. Flash and heal available for Rekkles. It's Flash and Cleanse on the side of Upset.
He's just a spell flinger right now, just pressing all his buttons anytime. There's no definitive statement that like Fnatic must get ahead, otherwise they will not be able to do anything with this composition, because they have tools, they can split up the map, they've got great assassination potential, like they don't have to pop off in this early game, but obviously it's very clear windows to victory for Origen. If everything just kind of stays neutral for 20 minutes, you're like, the team with Xayah Gangplank probably going to be really strong at around 35-40 minutes if this is just a quiet no-kill game.
Well, I don't think it will be, at least based on Destiny's willingness to engage.
My eyes are touching the scoreboard, Trevor. I don't see any kills.
I'm looking at the decision-making, Frosco. And as it stands, that flash from Nukeduck, you were 100% correct. It did not manage to, punish him at all. There was no further follow-up. Despite the pressure on Alphari top lane and him being zoned away, he's not behind anything at all. Now take a look at this bottom lane. Selfmade at level 6. He's made his way up. Supreme display of talent is available. Destiny gets chunked out, and Rekkles and Hilly back away.
Yeah, big difference there, of course, is the fact that Hilly has access to level 6, whereas Destiny's still at level 5, need this wave to come back in. So we'll see what Fnatic are able to get done with this this priority. Selfmade just Splinter Cell in the back here. Checking if this spell flinger of Destiny will go in. I think they spotted it.
I think so too. I believe we're on OG's vision, but it does not matter. Destiny gets tagged out. Rekkles throws down the Vigil. Not going to be enough damage just yet, but this will get a lot of damage and maybe a plate.
Yeah, but the damage has been done, not necessarily in the gold, but in the control over the Ocean Drake. We talked last game how I'm not a super big fan of the early Drakes. I think you can kind of give those ones away for free, but obviously if you get a free objective, it's always nice to take it, and that's exactly what Fnatic got there with very patient pressure game through their priority over bot lane.
And it is speeding us up to that Elemental Rift change. The fact that there's the Ocean on the board and now Cloud, we're going to either fire a Mountain next. That will obviously modify the state of Summoner's Rift. And do you think there's a preferential Drake for either of these comps? Probably Cloud mobility will be very useful actually on both sides with all of them. The ability to dodge the engages is going to be so important.
Anything that keeps Qiyana, I think for Fnatic fans, like relevant in the game, like all of the dragons could theoretically do that, but obviously if you're on Infernal, you lose so much access to brush and some of the walls, that I think it makes it a little bit more difficult to play Qiyana exactly where you want to, whereas obviously on Ocean, you got bushes everywhere, bushes for days. Qiyana could just start grabbing all the elements that she's watched, got good walls. So yeah, I think Ocean, probably not going to get that one because it's first Drake, but like Cloud, Mountain, pretty good for Qiyana on a map.
Yeah, definitely the case. The first 10 minutes of the game, we've seen a number of engages from Selfmade, not necessarily paying off in kills just yet. Those Ethereal Chains, followed up by Mimicked Ethereal Chains and good damage onto Nemesis. But I want to just quickly talk a little bit about maybe one of the lesser-known players on the Origen squad, Destiny, who's been, flinging them spells, I think is what you were saying, Frost. Oceanic player, played for Mammoth. As,
I don't know if you know this about me, Trevor, but I used to cast the OPS.
No ways! So Frost, seeing as though, you have some knowledge there, what do you make of Destiny? What do you make of an Oceanic import here to the LEC?
I'll hold it though, because Nemi.
It's Moonfall comes out.
Yeah, that's big damage.
Yeah, it's about sending a message. TP back to lane.
Welcome to Diana, folks. Grab this in solo queue. It's real fun.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, let's go back to Destiny for a little bit, because when you look at the OG roster, he's the name that you kind of go, oh, wait, okay, this is a little bit surprising.
So I'm going to give you some real talk. I'm not convinced with an Oceanic import. I think that this was, usually when I see this, I'm like, but it's probably like a budget thing. You know, can you get the best player for the best price? And I think Destiny falls into that. Now that said, I want Destiny to succeed. I want the Oceanic players to make their fellow countrymen proud, Ryoma to pop off, Destiny to pop off. But there is a very stacked support class coming into the LEC, and now Destiny needs to prove his worth. You could have had a European support. You now need to say, no, I'm worth this. I don't have a language barrier. I don't have a cultural barrier. I'm probably kind of like the best bang for your buck, and I can hang with these guys. He's been on an international stage.
Yeah, he absolutely has. Look at that. The moment Nukeduck throws out the distortion, gets engaged upon, but not exactly the biggest supreme display of talent. And Frosco, I'm going to challenge you on one of those analytical points. I've heard Australians speak. I think there might be a language barrier. We'll find out if he can communicate with the rest of this squad. We're 12 minutes in. First big item slowly making their way onto the Rift as Nemesis is going to use that Lunar Rush to dash forward. Moonfall will be available to him in just a moment if I'm looking at that correctly, and not going to pull the trigger just yet. And as it stands, even as far as you can go in CS, about a 10 difference in the bottom lane. That's the only thing separating Rekkles and Upset. And despite looking at that Aphelios early on, he hasn't been the name of the game right now. But we know he will become crucially important once he picks up his first and second items.
And again, it's always the combos of what Aphelios does with those items that we'll try really hard to keep track of in team fights. I'm going to be very honest again. Aphelios is hard for me to see, but there's Destiny.
Wow, there we go. We engage once again. Despite the fact that Destiny is finding those knockups, Hilly and Rekkles are on the same page. The Unbreakable Wall has gone out multiple times. The damage has been blocked. No first blood, no first tower. Only a single plate in the bottom lane has fallen for Fnatic and 2 plates in the middle lane for Origen. I didn't actually look at the timing, and it turns out those plates will fall very soon. Thank you, announcer.
It's been a very quiet early game, Trevor. I mean, not for lack of trying. You were correct that Selfmade has been throwing himself at this mid lane for Nemesis, but it's not paid off with a kill. And again, we talked about this earlier. I don't think either comp is super reliant on having like a super explosive early game, but this is kind of a handshake that I am going to lean towards Origen until Fnatic can prove me otherwise with some of the champions that they put together.
Okay, 30 seconds until this Cloud Drake will spawn. At the moment, I'm looking at Vision and Wave. Let's see if Fnatic decide to start it. Do you think Origen want to contest?
Well, I'm going to say is that means that our third dragon that's going to change the Rift is either going to be the Mountain or the Infernal. We already talked about how Infernal makes it a little bit harder to play Qiyana where you want to play Qiyana.
Now we're going to find out. So, do Origen pick this fight? Let's look at the state. Teleport's available for Alphari. He's nearly level 11. And he's got the Cannon Barrage. Bwipo is also up in that top lane. And OG do have a numbers advantage inside the river for now.
Either team can feel comfortable doing this. It's kind of about the setup and the patience, and there we go.
All right, no patience just yet. That's the engage. Moonfall will catch onto Upset. He manages to flash away. The barrel is eaten up by the wall. First blood goes to Upset. Origen are on the board. The Cannon Barrage was thrown down as well. Now Bwipo, he decides to engage, chasing down in the top lane, waiting for cooldowns. The never move or land. Nukeduck is now coming in from behind. Now there's some trouble for Bwipo. Gets caught by the powder kick and slowed. Will flash away. The ethereal chains won't find a target. This is an easy kill and the second of the game for Origen.
Okay, so Bwipo sees that Alphari uses his ultimate bottom. He's like, this is an unfair fight. You don't have an ultimate, I can just walk at you. But this is like classic Bwipo fashion, where you see these sparks of brilliance, and then he completely loses control about what's happening on the map. And Nukeduck's like running a marathon to get up there. It took him like 30 minutes, and he's able to still make the game work. Looking back at this one, I do love the very deep reach around from Destiny to be like, participation ward, I gotcha. He manages to follow up the snare that Xayah set up, but that was a very, very deep flank that Rakan was looking for.
It absolutely was. Origen come away with the kills and the 2,000 gold lead. The fact that Infernal has now spawned will change our Rift to the Infernal Blazes. So there we go. Walls have been changed, and this will make it a little bit more fun when people are caught out. Because, as you mentioned earlier, with less brush to play with, no flash available, no demonic ascension. Alphari and Xerxe are just going to run him down. Bwipo concedes his second death.
Yeah, Bwipo didn't have flash. He decided to reach for the minions. He really wanted it, and Xerxe just rocks up. It's like, yo, remember me? There's no reason to play bottom, dragons down. See you next time, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Kill secures now. 1 for Alphari, 1 for Nukeduck. one for upset, and they've got themselves a very healthy advantage. About 15 minutes ago, Frost, you said that Origen have got so many tools to dive and so many tools to chase, and some of the most important ones that need to have gold and money in their pockets has got it. So Rekkles, Essence Reaver completed. It's going to be a very difficult few minutes if Origen have got vision to make that engage.
But it's also been a very quiet game for Rekkles so far. Both these 80 carries outside of the single pick that Xayah's gotten haven't been able to really showcase their stuff. So I'm still waiting to see how Rekkles is going to flex on this Aphelios. Because frankly, in the LPL and in the LEC, I haven't quite seen what I think Aphelios could be fully capable of, that there's still like a learning curve before we see someone really pop off with this champion. I think Carzzy probably had the best performance there, at least the most standout one for me right now.
I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that he's the most complex champion that's been released in, recent memory, and definitely got a high skill ceiling to maximize his weapon usage and ability usage. Selfmade throws out the supreme display of talent, fearing for his life, maybe anticipating an engage that did not come. Origen just threatening was enough to get that spell.
Yeah, and speaking of fishing, Origen are looking for some of these picks. It's the fact that whenever Xerxe and Destiny out there, we already called Destiny the spell flinger, that he's just constantly fishing for those Ws. Xerxe is going to be in the same point, so at this point in the game, as the map starts to open up, Fnatic do need to be very careful until they get a couple more items in their back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely the case. In case you're not watching on twitch.tv/LEC, if you are watching on Twitch, head over to that channel and make sure you like it and follow. We are obviously hosting on Riot Games, but this will be the home on Twitch, and if you're on YouTube, no worries, enjoy the stream. No changes there, bruv. First tower is at risk of falling here. We've got to do it, Frost. Don't laugh at me
for
my
flick.
delivery. It's going to get some damage down here onto Xerxe. No further follow-up. First tower falls in the bottom lane. Origen have had a very, very good passage of play for the last 8 minutes. They're up 4K.
Origen are a team that are really good at playing on waves. And kind of when things break down, like there's certain teams that like play team fight. Like that kind of feels like Schalke. But Origen will always go back to what are the waves doing? Where do we have priority? Where can we move away from it? And that's exactly what just happened there. The wave was crashing in bottom, so Gangplank could sit there with his ultimate. They managed to push the wave up top, got a team to respond, and then cut back down into mid lane. And they knew that they had time to do that because they prepped the mid wave ahead of time. This is something to always watch with Origen, which is why, yeah, they feel kind of boring because things aren't on fire and like exploding. You don't really get the fiesta, but it's just very fundamental league that makes them a top team in the LEC.
And of course, the other top team in the LEC in G2, they were in a similar position earlier today. They're down a couple thousand gold against the Mad Lions. G2 Esports were able to dig deep, bounce back, and win the game. Now we turn all eyes to Fnatic. Can they find a way? BF Sword has picked up there by Rekkles as he and the rest of Fnatic are sieging this mid lane. They will secure the first tower. Cannon Barrage has gone down. Origen looking for an engage, but Nukeduck was pushing the top lane, and he secured that tower. 1-for-1, still an advantage to OG.
Yeah, Fnatic were done with this like 5-man mid, force this down. I'm done playing out into these side lanes, and they do manage to get it for themselves. But now the question is, what can they do with it? Again, an open map, I think, works for both these teams. Just kind of who strikes first, the Rakan and the Gragas, or the Diana and the Qiyana.
And of course, who's got better vision? I mean, if you look at the minimap, there's not much to play with here, team. Fnatic have got a couple of wards in and around the north quadrant near the Rift Herald. Thank you, observers. But as far as it goes, 30 seconds to the Infernal. A couple of deep wards just placed by Origen, so they're setting themselves up to challenge it.
An issue for Origen, however, is that they're actually waiting on Alphari's ultimate. It's not super necessary if they can get the Gangplank, again, forcing a wave and then walking down. But in a perfect world, Origen actually really want to stall this out until they have those key ultimates. Whereas Fnatic are going to be fighting for, again, wave priority and vision priority. Clear out their jungle, make sure that they get mid priority and push it out, and then slowly start inching their toe into this river because they are between items.
Okay, take a look at the timing really quick. 45 seconds.
Here comes Alphari.
Before Alphari's ultimate will become available again. Destiny continues to threaten Rekkles. He's got his flash available. Now the engage. That's a stun. That's Xerxe locked down. He manages to use his stopwatch to stay alive for a few seconds. The engage from Destiny manages to get knocked up on a Selfmade. Somehow Xerxe escapes with his life. The barrel comes out and does disengage the fight for now. Infernal is alive, and Alphari's Cannon Barrage will be available, but at what cost? Mimic is gone. The quickness is gone, and so is that explosive cast. They are still poising for another engage.
Yeah, but that ultimate from Alphari is just about to come back up. You can see the patience from Origen. They pull off it, and they're like, come on, let's take the dragon. Let's go right now because they know that they have those key ultimates.
All right, Nukeduck's gonna go fishing, gets the distortion and gets out. Good damage there. And now Selfmade is forced away. The Infernal Drake has reset a second time.
Fnatic have overstayed.
Backwards. Now, is this going to be another fight? Fnatic, they're toying with the idea. Cannon Barrage still available. 2,000 HP. Selfmade just behind the pit. Is not going to pick it up. Goes to OG. They get the Infernal. The Moonfall comes down. There's so much damage from Nemesis. Pale Cascade keeps him alive a few seconds longer before Upset takes him out. Now Alphari is taken down. Bwipo will get taken out in reply. It's a double for Upset and the Drake for OG.
And Fnatic overstayed. They were too greedy. They didn't want to give up the Infernal, and they fall into the patient trap of Origen. It's now, what else do they lose in exchange here? And fortunately for Fnatic, it feels like just a couple of kills and the Infernal Drake, as no other tower will be followed up. But taking another look at this, I know I just talked about this, but check out the mini-map. It's the setup of the waves. Origen will feel confident to be patient in these types of scenarios and just take a step back and then watch what you're doing and try to punish the mistakes, because the waves are crashing in the side and you're still slowly kind of starving out Fnatic of this very crucial gold that they're not farming up. They're not preparing the map before stepping to those objectives.
Very, very impressed by the sort of level of preparation, preparedness. I'm not quite sure what the better word would be, but that Origen is like, they've got control of their fundamentals. There we go. That's a better way of saying it. They've just felt in control. 3-0 on Upset, down 6 CS, does not matter. Got himself the Essence Reaver and the Phantom Dancer completed already. But after that last fight, Rekkles now sitting on that Infinity Edge. And he's going to be looking to impact these fights a little more because it hasn't been about him yet.
And it's also really important to remember again that Fnatic aren't shut out of this. This is a single team fight swing away, and they have all of the tools to do that with the massive damage from Aphelios and Diana, and then a well-placed Qiyana ult. It just takes one Qiyana ultimate to ruin a team's day. So that's what we're looking at.
And of course, Qiyana has just returned to the Rift, upgraded to the Umbral Glaive. Got himself new items here in the 2020 season.
I actually think probably one of my favorite items in the 2020 season, especially because we talked about this a little bit last time. When you have so many tanks and team fights are more drawn out, I'll hold it.
Hold
There's
that
a TP.
thought. Upset's
Two
been able to
TPs.
escape. Manages to use the ultimate. Nukeduck is locked down by the tower, but here comes Nemesis. Crescent Strike and Luna rushes forward, continuing to chase. Nukeduck and the rest of Origen are retreating. While that's going on, Origen are playing the map game. They're putting pressure in the bottom lane, and they may be able to secure this tower. Looks like nothing more is happening. Advantages to OG over and over and over.
Ah, it's huge. That's double teleport. And the thing is that they just don't have the engage, but they got Destiny.
Oh no, they've got themselves, but he manages to escape for now. The Spellflinger going to stay alive. And the Oceanic import 003 remains unkilled.
So I'm going to go back to what the analyst desk was talking about, because Yamato said that when you have something like a Braum that basically gives low CC or low engage compositions the ability to have that hard engage because of how his passive is going to work and who can proc it, I totally understand, but it is still so much harder to execute on. You see that Fnatic are double teleporting in. They're trying to force fights while Origen are not splitting the map, but playing out to a side lane with the reach of their Gangplank ultimate. But they just can't find the engagement. It's too slippery, especially when you're against a slippery champion like Rakan, and they also have the Gragas. Think of just how easy it is for Origen to constantly play that cat and mouse game.
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep swatting Fnatic away over and over. And that's where this lead has come from. It feels like every play that Origen has done has been like calculated. It's been controlled, and it's been calm. All credit to the OG star, to Gihoto, who's on stage giving Mithy a hug. Of course, Mithy, support player from his 2019 season, now coaching Fnatic. And as it stands, Fnatic, they're in trouble. It's starting to feel like this game is running a little bit away from them.
If Fnatic get a hold of Origen, they'll still pop them like a balloon.
But they haven't been able to yet.
It's right. Whack-a-mole. Can you actually grab them?
Well, look, 1 minute until the next round of Whack-a-Mole. And as it stands, Fnatic are the mole and Origen are doing the whacking. So I want to see how that sets up. And look, again, it just feels like as we get closer to these neutral objectives, OG are starting to invade. They're challenging on vision, starting to push the wards in. Remember, Alphari already got that inner turret in the bottom lane. It's just been all OG.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, the vision really tells the story of that as the Infernal is about to spawn. Double crit cloak.
Double crit cloak after the Infinity Edge. When you just absolutely need that luck. Selfmade will throw down the ultimate, stuns up Alphari, and manages to escape with his life. But remember what we said. It was 1 minute to Dragon. OG were pushing the waves, trying to challenge Vision inside Fnatic's red buff jungle. And now it's 10 seconds, and OG, they got the mid tower. That's 4-1. And now they start falling back towards the pit. I take it back. They're actually stepping forward, stepping into Fnatic and challenging them, saying, come at me, I dare you.
I was just checking what weapons Rekkles was holding on to. He's got a perfect combination for pretty high DPS output right now, so...
Hit me with the colors.
I think it's red and white.
All right, well, let's take a look. Red is currently prime. Baron is going to be the focus. OG are inside the Infernal. Alphari has got himself the cannon barrage, and this is a fantastic split screen. Red buff is picked up. Correction, Red Dragon. Now the rest of Fnatic, they're inside the pit. Fnatic sneak Baron. They absolutely sneak it from underneath the noses of Origen. Sneak's the wrong word. They secure it. They secure it.
They ripped it from Origen. Origen were playing the map. They're like, we've got complete control here. Now, Fnatic just ripped this game back open.
And ladies and gentlemen, the library here in Berlin has awoken as the Fnatic fans finally giving a cheer of hope. It's still a 4,000 gold deficit. It's still a 3-tower deficit, but this Baron buff can absolutely help neutralize that difference.
And this was honestly just a great read from Fnatic on Origen. Origen are playing this by the book. Fnatic, like, they probably set up all their vision around this Infernal. We've got red-white on Aphelios. We can rock up to this Baron and just melt through it. And that's exactly what they did.
Did indeed. So this now completely changes the landscape of this game. 2.5 items starting to be completed. We're hitting 30 minutes on the clock, and take a look at that. Flamethrower, just one little tag onto Upset, and he hits real hard. If Nemesis or Selfmade can hold Upset in place, or even Nukeduck just for a moment, that Rekkles ultimate can just finish the deal. Tower number 2 will now be secured. And I was just about on the verge of believing OG were going to finish this without huge contest. And Fnatic have just told me to sit down and shut up because they're right back in this, boss.
And again, both these squads have so much experience on them, and this is just the tell sign of that experience. It's that against these top teams, against these players that have this knowledge, you can't slip up for a second.
No, you absolutely can't. 30 minutes is fast approaching. Right, match of the week is already starting to deliver. 3-0 on Upset. He's farmed himself up a 700 gold bounty. Still even on gold with Rekkles, who just completed his Hurricane. So he continues to scale up on this Aphelios as well.
And Fnatic are basically hoovering up a lot of this freestanding gold that is sitting in the structures right now with this Baron and closing that gold gap even further on very key itemization. So Origen are either going to try to just survive the Baron. If they see a pick, go for it. But Fnatic are feeling very confident to start forcing fights and forcing objectives down. They say, we're powerful now. We're going to start taking up space on this map.
Oh, never move. Tagged onto Alphari. Christian Strike manages to hit Xerxe. It must be real interesting for Xerxe to be playing against the Diana. His like signature pick for such a long time, or at least favorite champion. Offers it all the time, and now all of a sudden is being threatened by it. Selfmade waiting just over the wall. Fnatic are going to peel away. It looked like they were trying to go for a dive, but they haven't just yet. Numbers advantage to OG.
It's a perfect corridor for Qiyana to want to fight in. They really want to pull Origen kind of down into these heavy walls.
And now the tables have turned, Frost. The tables have turned. Fnatic have just lost the Baron buff, but while they were applying pressure top, Nemesis peeled away, shoved in the mid lane, and exactly what Origen did to Fnatic has now been reversed upon them. The tower hasn't fallen yet, but it's good to see Fnatic not giving up the go and making sure that they continue to apply pressure when they can.
And that was the big advantage that the Baron bought Fnatic. It was the ability to say that Origen can't split up the map now that you're playing to Fnatic's whim, because their pushing is just that much faster. So kind of stealing the bread and butter of how Origen like to split up the map. And now, yes, there's still a gold discrepancy, but everyone's got core itemization. Again, it's going to come down to execution, who finds who first, who's playing this vision denial game, and hopefully some team fights, because I'd like to see some blood.
Yes, I agree entirely, and Selfmade would have liked to have seen some bushes to play around. The fact that we've got ourselves the Infernal Rift, I mean, Selfmade was like trying to find places to assassinate or at least jump on someone. Nemesis and Selfmade were nearby.
He's got an itty-bitty little bush right there.
There's just not enough, and maybe this plays a little bit into OG's favor. So Fnatic now feeling emblazon a boulder stepping forward, 50 seconds till the next Infernal. And just like clockwork, just like the textbook says, Frostcurrent set up vision, set up the Drake, and then play around it. That's what Origen are doing again.
Yeah, trying to hide in some of these pockets of vision that they've created. They came in through here, swept all of it out, placed an abundance of wards. But if it doesn't pay off, which Fnatic very clearly can smell this from a mile away, they know that they want this pick. They just have to absorb that pressure, and now it's all that time and gold wasted from Origen getting control of that jungle that hasn't led to anything. Fnatic smelt it, walked away from it.
Yeah, they managed to force Origen's hand to a degree. This game was our match of the week. There was such high expectations on both teams, and now it feels like it's balancing on a knife's edge. The 5v5 ARAM in the middle. Body slam from Xerxe. Nemesis goes in. Moonfall comes down. Xerxe throws out the golden stopwatch. He's now running for his life. Nemesis is in so much trouble. He's taken out. He's blown up. It's Origen get the first kill of the fight. Hylissang is running away with his life as Bwipo's demonic ascension is still running. Never move tag. That's a flash forward. Good burst damage, but simply not enough. Simply not enough follow-up. Rekkles' Moonlight Vigil did not do enough damage early, and Origen win another fight.
And you're starting to see some of these growing pains in the new Fnatic roster. Some of these kinks that they haven't worked out. Selfmade was so cut off from that fight. He was unclear if the call was, are we letting Origen move in and am I looking for a flank around this corner? Because Qiyana just kind of sits on the top of this team fight for so long, holding on to the ultimate. So we'll go back here. Nemesis feels like I'm either going to get caught out, I can try to burst Xerxe. Xerxe absorbed times with the stopwatch and then flashes out. And then Alphari does a wonderful job with this ultimate, separating the fight. And this is basically where Selfmade stays. He still has his ultimate. He walks back around the wall because he's thinking, are we letting them push in or are we going forward? And Bwipo says, I am going forward, and his team is not in position to follow him up with one of the most key and important ultimates on Qiyana.
How much damage did Selfmade deal in that fight? 0 damage. He was zoned away. You pointed out every move. He never got a chance.
And again, I don't want to sit here and flame Selfmade because I think it's very obvious what he was thinking. I'm going to come around this wall and then I'm going to find my moment. It's again, they're just desynced. One is going forward and one is coming back, but Origen now in control.
It absolutely is the case. Now, Xerxe has actually thrown out the explosive cast. Origen did not get anything for that ultimate. Destiny managed to find himself a random Nemesis who he jumped onto, but wasn't able to secure anything more. And now Origen, they've switched their focus. They've got 3 Infernals to play with. They're setting themselves up for the Infernal Soul. And when you consider they've got all the dive power, when you consider with 3 Infernals already, you add the Soul and the additional burst damage that can come, it's going to get even more difficult for Selfmade and Nemesis if Origen are able to pick that one up.
I got layman's term for you. Make shit blow up, and that's what Origen want to get to.
Well, let's see if Origen can secure it. They started the Baron, they forced Fnatic towards it, but they are not committing to it. Origen are playing this one safe. They are playing it controlled. They are definitely waiting in the wings. Nukeduck is just waiting for someone to pop.
I do want to point out what Alphari and Nukeduck are doing, and it's so much zone control right now. Alphari has so much denial of vision around him. He was just standing on 2 control wards, and he's just fishing for barrels like that on Selfmade.
Look at this. Origen, they're not committing to the fight. They're not committing to the Baron.
Gotta go mid.
Fnatic are just walking up and pushing them away. Will this cost Origen? That is the question. That's 2 minutes, 3 minutes of threats that hasn't paid dividends.
It will cost them something, but it's what price are they going to pay? And it looks like it's going to be the mid tower. It was either going to be the mid tower or it's going to be their Baron vision. And Fnatic decide the mid tower is more important to us. We can shove this forward and then on our retreat, try to clear the vision.
Alphari's barrels obliterate Selfmade. He's forced to flash away. Now Alphari's trying to set up another. Powder cake into powder cake. Can he find the combo? Not just yet. Selfmade escapes.
Observers gets on top.
Mid is going to go down. Inhibitor top is going to go down. There's an engage and a jump onto Alphari. He flashes over the wall. Origen, are they going for the win? Can Xerxe and Alphari interrupt the backs? Teleport is now coming down. Bwipo is in trouble. 3 members of OG are backing away and Xerxe throws out the explosive cast. We have ourselves a game, ladies and gentlemen, but crucially, Origen defend their inhib.
They're still in trouble.
One. What's happening now?
No, well, there could be sniped down by Nukeduck. He is chasing Rekkles. Can they get Bwipo and saving Private Ryan out?
All right, flash available, ignite available, and Nukeduck is looking for a target. Rekkles gets a lot of damage down with that sniper rifle, and Nukeduck's mimic, correction, is passive. He's going to get spotted out there. Nukeduck escapes with his life. The hunter became the hunted. And as it stands, at the end of it all, it's Origen again with the outplay.
And I think it was a really good calling of the bluff. Like, Fnatic had to make that call. What were they going to choose? They decided to try their luck. They were going to storm down mid lane, and Origen, without a split-second hesitation, ran it up into that top side. And again, it's the wave preparation that kind of paid off to give Origen that slight edge of taking the inhibitor. So still, Origen's map play has been so much cleaner than Fnatic's across the board, and that's why they're still sitting in this position of power. But you can see how close it is in terms of when Fnatic do hit Origen, they hit them very hard.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And all credit to OG. I thought they dilly-dallied around the Baron a while, but once they, got pushed by Fnatic, as you rightly pointed out for us, the response was great. Keep your eye on the minimap.
Hey, Destiny, here's your moment.
Origen has done very well, has used those side lanes. That's an engage under Nukeduck. He's already flashed to safety. Destiny's got the flash and the quickness. 30 seconds. The next Infernal. Supers are just about to make their way to the inner turret, but it's Nemesis that goes in, puts the ultimate down. The barrel from Xerxe comes up. That's a great interrupt. Nicely done by Selfmade, preventing the engage from Destiny, but it's upset on a Rampage with the double. Turns to Bwipo, who goes golden and stays alive just a few seconds longer. Now Rekkles with the Buffson stepping forward, trying to see what he can do. Nukeduck's in trouble. Good damage coming out, but he doesn't secure a kill. Rekkles stays alive, but it's still not over. 5-on-3 in favor of OG.
The Infernal is also up, so Fnatic, between a rock and a hard place, they've got the Supers crashing up, the Infernal is up, the Baron is up, and they need to think about how they are going to minimize this damage.
Alphari's going to be teleporting into the Super Mini and starts autoing away. Nexus turret number 1's going to go down. That's the engage. Nukeduck can give away his life because the game is on the line. Rekkles is running for his. Nexus turret number 2 is now under siege. 2 super minions working alongside Alphari. Rekkles is now running for his life. The Nexus is exposed, available, and for the taking. Origen on the verge of picking up their first win of 2020 and taking out Fnatic in the match of the week.
And this is going to feel like a bit of a reminder, but I do have to go back and just really compliment the team fight zone control from Origen is so impressive right now. How they are playing with zones of threat to kind of force Fnatic off, how patient they are throughout fights. This is really crisp team fighting, even though it looks like nothing's really happening on the screen.
007 for Xerxe, 6-0-2 for upset, 1-0-4 for Nukeduck. Destiny, man, we talked about a little bit ago, 0-1-8. It's such clean play from these players and the teamwork.
Yeah, but look at how they're separating fights when they're using things like the cask, like the Gangplank ultimate, and even the threat of the feathers. Yes, their champions have so many tools to do that, whereas Fnatic champion really don't. You know, maybe if you give this composition to Fnatic, I'd be praising them in the same way. But Origen right now, playing this comp, really pretty to watch. Big fan of team fights, big fan of the LPL. They look like an LPL team right now.
Yeah, really nicely done here. 40 minutes on the clock. Elder's going to be up in 5 minutes. I don't even know if the game's going to go that long with the way OG are playing. The 9th tower secured. And remember, Supers, look at the minimap. Supers are moving into the base at the same time OG are.
It's so hard. Fnatic have to get a flank here. You have so many melee champions, and then you have Rekkles who's like, I'm an ADC, and they have so much dive potential. How am I ever supposed to walk up to them? With all these melee champs, Alphari puts out a barrel. You have to walk across it, you get blown up. You get even close, Xerxe resets a fight with a cast. It's so hard to maneuver around.
Okay, Nemesis is waiting behind the Baron pit. He's been trying to recall for several moments. This is now going to be the second time he'll interrupt this. Will he get spotted? He gets out. He escapes. The spooky ghosts were tracking him down. Knowing that Nemesis is not there and most likely doesn't have TP, he doesn't on cooldown. Fnatic, Origen rather surely aware of it. They just steal, they secure. Man, my word just don't. They secure Baron uncontested. And it's an impressive game, and it is a statement game to start the spring splits.
I know that we're all very excited. It's match of the week, and I don't want to take away any hype from the game because I think we've seen some really clean League of Legends in moments. I do just want to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. Again, week 1, day 1. The cool thing about this matchup is that the expectation is that you're seeing 2 top teams. Yeah. You're seeing the new Fnatic, and you're seeing an Origen where every analyst is saying these guys are doing great in scrims. We expect them to be a top team. So it's really just kind of getting a peek at what does top League of Legends look like in the LEC right now. And from what I've seen, I'm really liking it. It feels good on my eyes. I really like what Origen are doing, and I think that Fnatic, if this was a best of 3, probably wouldn't draft this way and would probably make some adjustments to get their footing back in here. But right now, they're on a prayer. They need to create pockets of vision with these control wards and then find picks and find flanks. Otherwise, I think this should be a pretty clean chokeout for Origen.
It feels the case, and you know, you go back to a couple of decisions, a couple of moments. If Selfmade had been able to be successful with some of those ganks, he got the flashes, but no kills.
So hard. Look at that vision control.
Yes.
I bet Origen's vision stats are insane this game, which, yeah, they have the gold lead, so they got more money to spend on it, but every single setup in time, they have just completely smoked out Fnatic's jungle. Like, you have to wander all the way back around the rift. You need a TP to find anything.
All right, Alphari flashed away from the supreme display of talent, but still got damage done. Nemesis is being eaten away by the cannon barrage. He stays alive long enough. Alphari in the 1v2 gets the kill, gets the double with the help of Destiny and Upset. And the Welshman is here to play. Fnatic are down 2, and they somehow have to defend a Nexus with no turret.
Yeah, it's no longer just a chokehold from Origen. He just dropped the elbow on Fnatic right now. They are gasping for breath, and that is it.
There is no breath to be had. Fnatic have been choked out. Origen obliterate Fnatic in our match of the week. The way in which Origen played and won that game is the way in which you expect that organization to play. Even though the players that defined it for the organization are no longer there.
But the coaching staff is, so I'm going to give credit to Andre on your screen right now. Beautiful game from Origen. Outside of that slip up around the Baron, it was pretty cut and dry from beginning to end. You can see some of the growing pains again for Fnatic, trying to integrate Selfmade into the roster. Origen just looked like a machine right now, well oiled.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wondered to myself again, I was saying it just before the final push, you know, Selfmade's early ganks, they had impact, not enough. Infernal Rift instead of the Cloud Rift. How different could it have been? Now, I'm talking minor details, right? Minor, of course. But it is the first day of the LEC with the Rift changes, and I'm excited to see the differences. Mr. Quijote is very happy, as I can see him on stage, celebrating the OG victory.
I'm going to say it had nothing to do with the dragons, and I'm going to say that the big cherry on top was Alphari, especially with that